Hey there, Plebs and Pros. Welcome to the first episode of my Battle Spot series. We're going to be doing some special Season 8 battles today. So in special Season 8, you get to bring one legendary Pokemon along on your Battle Spot singles team. And I have elected to bring Yveltal. So we got the Yveltal squad here featuring Ditto. Nearly every game I've been finding that I bring those two, and the other four have just sort of been doing their role as support kind of Pokemon. So I've got 3 battles to show you today, and let's get stuck into this first one. So looking at my opponent's team there, the only reason that Serperior is not going to be a great lead is if that Tapu Koko has Taunt or Supersonic Sky Strike. So I'm thinking, alright, Serperior is going to be my lead main, and I'm going to bring Ditto and Yveltal in the back there. So I feel like they do likely either lead with Tapu Koko or Excadrill. Normally when you see Tapu Koko and Excadrill on a team like that, it means that Excadrill is going to be setting up Stealth Rocks for team support and probably be carrying Rock Tomb to slow whatever's next down a little bit, and it could be dual screens Tapu Koko, kind of like the same job that my Serperior is doing. So we do see that Excadrill comes out first there, and I'm feeling pretty confident that this is the Focus Sash Excadrill, Suicide Lead style. So I choose to Leaf Storm here, because if I Leaf Storm, I can 2-shot this Excadrill, and my special attack will be at +2, and I might be able to start snowballing with Serperior instead of trying to set up support screens. So yeah, we go for Leaf Storm, taking a little while my opponent here to choose a move. So they go for Iron Head there and reveal that they are not Focus Sash Excadrill, they are in fact Choice Scarf. So, my prediction not quite on the money there, but that's okay. That means I can change my strategy up a little bit. So instead of going for Leaf Storm, I'm going to go for Glare, and Serperior's going to be setting up screens and functioning in more of a support role. So we get the Glare off. So one of the nice things about Glare is it can paralyze ground types. So normally when you go to paralyze something, you have to use an electric move. So Glare's really good because you can get those ground types under the paralysis. So now I'm going to be outspeeding Excadrill, and I can get a screen up. So I go for Reflect first. It's a bit of a tough decision because I know that they've got Tapu Koko in the back as well, but I can send Ditto out to fight Tapu Koko, and luckily we get the paralysis proc on Excadrill there, so I can get both of my screens up, which is really nice. So Serperior putting in a really good amount of work there, getting the Glare off, getting the dual screens off, and yeah, it just goes down. So now I can send Yveltal in, and Yveltal's in a really nice position now. With Excadrill under paralysis and with dual screen support, it's gonna be, just in a really good spot. So Yveltal comes out, and I'm thinking we might be able to outspeed this Excadrill. It really depends on how much speed investment my opponent has put into Excadrill. I think most of the time you do want to run Jolly on Scarf Excadrill. It's got some pretty important outspeeds. So I go for the Dark Pulse anyway, just for that stab damage. And yeah, so Excadrill still does outspeed, but we get a really nice paralysis proc again. And Dark Pulse is doing a really nice amount of damage there. So I'm weighing up whether or not I want to reveal Sucker Punch. And I think it's probably worth it. I don't really need to tank another Iron Head. So Sucker Punch and Excadrill goes down. So now we're at 2 Pokemon each, but Yveltal is behind screens. So Yveltal in a really nice position here, and they send out Blaziken. So because they've sent out Blaziken, I'm thinking they probably don't have Tapu Koko, and without Tapu Koko they're going to have a very difficult time dealing with this Yveltal. So they go for Protect. They're probably just wanting to try to stall out my screens, I guess. They should know that if Paralyzed Excadrill outspeeds Yveltal, then Blaziken should surely outspeed it as well. Maybe not, maybe it's a really bulky Blaziken. Anyway, my opponent's now taking a little bit of time thinking about how they're going to handle this. Really tough position for Blaziken to be in. Blaziken really doesn't like to fight Yveltal on any given day. So they opt for Inferno Overdrive, hoping to get some big damage off through my screens. So Blaziken becoming engulfed in flames now, and hurling a massive, just gigantic fireball straight into Yveltal. And Yveltal just, you know, tanks it like a champ, doesn't mind. He can tank Inferno Overdrive all day. Shoots up into the sky and hits Blaziken with Oblivion Wing. And Blaziken gets deleted. Unfortunate Blaziken. Well fought. We'll see you next time. And hopefully, yep, we see the Celebi. Celebi really doesn't stand a chance against Yveltal. Being a grass psychic type is really not the matchup you want against a dark flying type. So really not much that this Celebi is going to be able to do to me, and my opponent decides to forfeit that game. Better luck to them next time, and we can move on to game 2 now. So we've got Bob from Japan, and Bob has got Groudon, Swellow, Aggron, Slacking, Alakazam, and Greninja. So this is probably not a good game for Superior to be leading. That Greninja might just be able to KO with Ice Beam if it specs. And that Swellow can probably KO as well. Alakazam can outspeed, it could probably taunt, can probably sub. So I'm going to bring Mimikyu as a lead here. They've got a few slow Pokemon there that we could just curse and sub all day against. And Mimikyu's got a much nicer matchup against the Alakazam and the Greninja there. So it's going to be Mimikyu lead, and then once again I'm going to bring Ditto and Yveltal in the back. So there's probably not a very high chance that they lead with one of their slow Pokemon, but if they do, my Mimikyu is going to be in a really nice position. So let's see who they want to send out first. So it's Alakazam. Mimikyu has a fairly nice matchup against Alakazam. Alakazam really doesn't want to take a Shadow Claw from Mimikyu, so I'm thinking, yeah, they're probably gonna switch, or they might try to substitute. We'll see what happens. I know that Mega Alakazam usually is packing substitute and 3 attacks sometimes, unless it's the Encore Alakazam or Disable Alakazam. Some people like to run Disable, that's also not a bad set. So I go for Curse turn 1 anyway. Kind of hoping that they switch. So I click Curse, Alakazam goes into a substitute, and the one thing that I don't notice here, because I'm an idiot, is that Alakazam didn't take any damage. So if I had have noticed that, I would have been going for Play Rough here. I would have just broken the substitute and gotten out, because Mimikyu's not really doing anything to this Alakazam at the moment. So I've gone for substitute, my disguise is broken, and now this is the point that I realise, oh, this is Magic Guard Alakazam and he's not taking any damage from my curse. So I need to Play Rough and get Mimikyu the heck out of there. And I'll send in Yveltal to deal with Alakazam. Alakazam, if it's got 3 attacks, might be running Dazzling Gleam. And Dazzling Gleam will be the perfect move to activate my Yveltal's weakness policy. So we might try and fish out some weakness policy shenanigans with Yveltal, assuming I can land this Play Rough. So I go for Play Rough onto the Alakazam and we break his substitute, which is good. So Mimikyu's still got a little bit of health. At this point, probably can just use it for death fodder. And in hindsight, it probably would have been smart to use my Z move there just so that it would be 100% accurate. But using a Z move on a substitute kind of seems dumb. Anyway, so we take Mimikyu back out of here. We're going to send Yveltal in and see what Alakazam can do about that. So, Dark Aura. So Yveltal's Dark Aura boosts the power of Dark type moves. Not just for it, but for all Pokemon on the field. It's a really nice ability that just really amps up Yveltal's damage. So that Alakazam just Mega Evolved and traced my Dark Aura, which isn't really going to do anything. But maybe something my opponent didn't think about is now it's going to start taking curse damage. So that's pretty good for me. I'm really glad that they Mega Evolved. Thanks, Bob. Anyway, I'm feeling they're probably going to substitute here, so no reason to try and sucker punch them. Just go for Dark Pulse, and kind of secretly hoping that they try to Dazzling Gleam as well. That'd be really cool. If they Dazzling Gleamed there, then I think the game would probably be over. So I go for Oblivion Wing. I guess that makes sense as well. Oblivion Wing at that range would definitely get the KO and get some health back as well. So if they had a Dazzling Gleamed, we'd be getting some HP back. So I'm pretty confident that they don't have Dazzling Gleam after that. I think they have to go for an attack here, so I just go for Sucker Punch and get rid of Alakazam. So see you later, Alakazam, well fought. We'll see who they bring in next. Taking a little bit of time to decide. Guess it's a tough decision. Could it be Groudon? So it's Greninja. Alright, so they've sent Greninja out, and I think maybe they Ice Beam. If they're gonna Ice Beam me, I think that's perfect as long as they don't get a freeze proc. Yeah, if it's Specs, then Yveltal is in a bit of danger, but should be doing probably just over half my health if it's not specs. Yeah, so we get the weakness policy activated, and this is just glorious now. Oblivion Wing is going to just delete this Greninja, and we're going to be getting a lot of health back from that attack. So Yveltal is now at +2 special attack and +2 attack for those boosted sucker punches. And I'm thinking it's got to be Groudon coming out last. Yep, so here's Groudon. Let's see what type it is. So it is Primal Groudon. It's going to be bringing out the harsh sunlight. So the cool thing about Primal Groudon is if you want to try and hit it with a water attack, so water attacks generally would be 4 times effective, they're just not going to work because the sunlight is extremely harsh and water attacks just fizzle out against it. So we're going to see how much damage this Groudon can do to Yveltal in the fierce sunlight, but it's going to want to be a bulky kind of Groudon if it's going to survive a Dark Pulse from Yveltal. So comes out with the Fire Punch. That's some nice damage there. Come at it with the Dark Pulse, and Groudon just cannot deal with that boosted damage. The sunlight fades, and we get a victory over our friend Bob there. And now we can move on to the final game. So our opponent from Tokyo, they've got a team of Necrozma, Tapu Koko, Slurpuff, Pelipper, Aggron, and Nihilego. So I really like the idea behind this team. That's got to be the sticky web version of Slurpuff. So they get the sticky webs off, and then they can come in with their Necrozma and potentially sweep, or maybe try and get some beast boosts going with Nihilego. It's a cool strat. But unfortunately for them, if they lead Slurpuff, and I'm really thinking that's probably going to be their plan for this battle, they can't do much against Ditto and Yveltal, because Ditto's going to copy the stats of its opponent, and Yveltal's in the air, so it doesn't have to deal with the sticky webs. So I just send Gengar out first, really hoping that they're going to lead with their Slurpuff. So one of the cool things before Slurpuff got sticky webs was you could give it Citrus Berry and Belly Drum, and then it's got its Unburden ability, so you maximize your attack, cut your health in half, activate your berry and your ability, and then you can outspeed pretty much everything. Anyway, so I send Gengar out. It is Slurpuff. And I'm just going to Mega Evolve and go into a substitute first, because I think they're probably just going to lead Sticky Web, and then we can have a free substitute, and that's awesome. So let's see what they want to go for here. Go into the substitute, and it's Yawn, which is great. So generally speaking, Slurpuff would be, leading with Yawn, forcing a switch, laying down the sticky webs, and then that's pretty good setup for whatever they've got in the back. So we go for Sludge Bomb there. Gengar taking Slurpuff down to its sash. And yep, they fire off the sticky web. Unbeknown to them, none of this is going to be doing anything good for them. So in the next turn, this Slurpuff should be outspeeding Gengar because of its Unburden ability. And we're going to see what attack they've got. It's Endeavor. Yeah, okay. So against any other kind of team, I think that's a really cool lead. You just start outspeeding, bring them down to 1 hit point as well, and then just bring in the heavy hitters and just start snowballing. So, really unlucky for my opponent that they're facing my team, because this team is just a hard counter to it. So they've sent out Nihilego next. Generally speaking, Nihilego is a bit tricky for Gengar to deal with. You have to kind of get lucky with Hypnosis. But I'm already behind a substitute, so Gengar in a pretty commanding position here. So Nihilego goes to sleep. And now we can just spam Hex and hopefully knock it out. And it's not Scarf Nihilego. It kind of makes sense not to be running Scarf Nihilego on this team if you've got sticky webs. So we get 2 turns of sleep and Nihilego is guaranteed going down. And Gengar is just absolutely dominating this game. So we get another Hex off. Nihilego goes down. And probably they've got Necrozma in the back, but Gengar is still behind a substitute, so very difficult job for this Necrozma. I don't really see how it can get past my Gengar. So if they don't Ultra Evolve, Hex will be doing 4 times damage because Necrozma is a Ghost Psychic type, or at least the Dawn Wings version is. But they do Mega Evolve and fire off a Hex, thinking it should be a 2-shot stab damage, and that is huge damage. So this must be a hyper aggressive variant of Necrozma. They fire off a Photon Geyser, and finally Gengar's sub is broken. So now we're just going to fire off another Hex, outspeed, and take game number 3 like a boss. So Gengar single-handedly pulls off game number 3. And that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Leave me a like or feel free to subscribe, and I'll catch you next time on the journey from Pleb to Pro.